The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the incessant pinging of my phone. Not the IV drip, not the steady beep of the heart monitor, not even the dull throb where they'd cut me open. Just ping after ping after ping. My name is Mara, and I wasn't supposed to be conscious yet. The doctors had estimated at least another 4 hours of anesthesia-induced sleep after my emergency appendectomy, but here I was, groggy yet annoyingly alert, staring at my phone screen through blurry vision. Transaction alert, $6,400, Elegant Affairs Catering. Transaction alert, $3,200, Bloom and Petal Wedding Florals. Transaction alert, $4,800, Crystal Palace Event Center. I blinked hard, convinced the medication was making me hallucinate. These charges couldn't be real. I hadn't authorized any of this. The door to my hospital room creaked open, and my mother Rosalind's perfectly coiffed head poked in. Her face lit up with practiced concern when she saw me awake. "Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't be up yet." She rushed to my bedside, my sister Desiree trailing behind her with a bridal magazine tucked under her arm. "Mom," I croaked, my throat dry as sandpaper. "My accounts. Someone's charging thousands of dollars." "Don't worry about any of that right now," Desiree chirped, flipping through her magazine. "We're handling everything." "Handling what?" I tried to sit up, wincing at the sharp pain in my abdomen. "The wedding preparations, of course." My mother smoothed my hair back with perfectly manicured fingers. "Your father and I thought it would be easier this way, with you being laid up and all. We've been making all the arrangements using your emergency fund. You always said you wanted to help with Desiree's special day." The room started spinning, and not from the painkillers. "My emergency fund? But that's my entire savings." "Don't be dramatic, Mara." Desiree rolled her eyes. "It's not like you need it right now anyway. Besides, Daddy said it was fine." "Fine?" I grabbed my phone again, scrolling through the alerts. "How did you even get access to my accounts?" "Oh, your father took care of all the paperwork while you were in pre-op," my mother waved dismissively. "You know how good he is with financial matters. Now, Desiree, show your sister the venue photos." My sister thrust her phone in my face, babbling about crystal chandeliers and marble fountains, but I couldn't focus on anything except the new alert that just popped up on my screen. Transaction alert, $12,000, Celestial Bridal Boutique. "That's my dress," Desiree squealed. "Wait till you see it, Mara. It's absolutely perfect." I let my head fall back against the pillow, my mind racing despite the fog of medication. They'd waited until I was literally unconscious to raid my life savings. Money I'd spent years building up, working overtime, skipping vacations, living in a tiny studio apartment while Desiree still lived in our parents' guest house rent-free. "You look pale, sweetie," my mother frowned. "Maybe we should let you rest. Come on, Desiree. We need to meet with the cake designer anyway." "Feel better, sis," Desiree called out as they left. "Oh, and don't worry about being a bridesmaid. We found someone else since you'll probably still be recovering." The door clicked shut behind them, leaving me alone with the steady ping of my phone as more charges rolled in. Through the haze of pain and medication, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. They thought they'd gotten away with it. They assumed I'd be too weak, too groggy, too compliant to notice or fight back. They were wrong. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app and started taking screenshots. Then I opened my voice recorder and hit the red button, just in time to catch my mother's voice, floating through the door. "Don't worry, she won't say anything. She never does." I pressed my thumb against the phone's screen so hard it hurt. They had no idea what they'd just set in motion. They thought they were planning a wedding. Instead, they were planning their own downfall. My phone pinged again. Another charge, another piece of evidence. I smiled, despite the pain. Sometimes the best revenge doesn't come from fighting back immediately. Sometimes it comes from letting people think they've won, right up until the moment you pull the rug out from under their feet. And I had a feeling my sister's perfect wedding day would be the perfect stage for exactly that. 3 weeks into my recovery, I sat cross-legged on my couch, surrounded by printouts of bank statements and screenshots. My laptop glowed with a spreadsheet tracking every unauthorized charge, now totaling over $85,000. A knock at my door made me jump. "It's open, Carmen." My best friend entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a concerned expression. "How are you feeling? And don't say fine, because we both know that's bull. Physically? The incision's healing well. Emotionally?" I gestured at the paper chaos around me. I'm somewhere between nuclear rage and total numbness. Carmen set down the coffee and picked up a statement. "Holy shit, Mara. $5,000 for a chocolate fountain? That's nothing. Look at this text from my mother yesterday." I grabbed my phone and played the voice message. "Sweetie, we need you to transfer another $10,000 for the videographer. The one we chose is simply divine, and Desiree deserves nothing but the best for her special day. You understand, don't you?" Carmen's face darkened. "Please tell me you didn't transfer it." "Of course not, but look what happened an hour later." I showed her my banking app. The transfer had gone through anyway. "How the hell?" Apparently my mother had herself added as a co-signer while I was under anesthesia. My voice cracked. "The bank just sent me the paperwork. That's my signature, but I never signed it. I was literally unconscious." Carmen sat down hard on the couch. "That's straight up fraud, Mara. You need to call the police." "Not yet." I pulled up a photo on my phone. "Remember this?" It was from my college graduation. I stood in my cap and gown while Desiree sobbed dramatically in the background. She threw a fit because my graduation was stealing attention from her spring break plans, I explained. Then my parents made me give her half my graduation money to make up for ruining her trip. "Jesus," Carmen muttered. "And that time they made you skip your job interview to drive Desiree to her dance recital, which she'd actually canceled days before, just to see if I'd drop everything for her." I took a sip of coffee. "This wedding theft? It's just their greatest hit." My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. "Darling, we're meeting the wedding planner tomorrow at 2. You should come. Show everyone you're not too sick to help your sister." Carmen read over my shoulder. "What are you going to say?" I typed quickly. "Still pretty weak. Doctor's orders. But I trust you guys to handle everything." "Nice," Carmen nodded. "Keep them thinking you're clueless while I build my case." I pulled out a business card. "I have a meeting tomorrow with Francesca Emerson. She's a fraud investigator Carmen recommended." "What's your end game here?" Carmen asked softly. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Desiree's face flashed on the screen. I put it on speaker. "Mara, Mom says you're too sick to help with wedding planning, but I need you to at least approve the honeymoon booking. It's only $20,000, and it's your duty as my sister." "Desiree," I interrupted, keeping my voice weak and tired. "Whatever Mom and Dad think is best. I'm just focusing on healing right now." "Ugh, you're so boring since your surgery." "Fine, I'll tell Daddy to handle it. Try not to die before my wedding. I don't want to deal with a funeral messing up my schedule." She hung up. Carmen stared at the phone in horror. Did she just joke about my death interfering with her wedding? Yeah. I pulled up my recording app. And now I have that lovely sentiment preserved forever. "You're recording everything? Every call, every text, every transaction." I gestured to my laptop. "I'm creating a timeline going back years. The wedding fraud is just the smoking gun. I'm building a case that shows a pattern." Carmen leaned forward. "A pattern of what?" "Financial abuse, emotional manipulation, identity theft." I pulled up a folder labeled Evidence. "They think I'm lying here weak and helpless, letting them pillage my life. But they forgot something important." "What's that?" I showed her the latest bank alert, another unauthorized transfer, this time for wedding favors. "They taught me everything I know about playing the long game, about smiling while you plot, about waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Carmen's eyes widened as she realized what I was planning. The wedding. I nodded, a cold smile spreading across my face. They wanted a spectacular event that everyone would remember forever, and that's exactly what they're going to get. My phone buzzed again. Another charge alert, another piece of evidence, another nail in their coffin. I think it's time to call Francesca, Carmen said quietly. Yes, I agreed, reaching for my phone. It's time to start planning my own special day. This is far worse than I initially suspected, Francesca said, spreading documents across her office desk. Your father didn't just forge your signature. He created an entire false power of attorney document. I leaned forward to examine the paperwork. How did you get this? Your father filed it with 3 different banks, claimed it was an emergency medical authorization. She pointed to a notary stamp. This notary doesn't exist. The stamp number is fake. My hands shook as I picked up the document. My supposed signature looked nothing like my real one. There's more, Francesca continued, pulling out another folder. Remember how you mentioned helping with your sister's college tuition? They guilted me into emptying my first-year savings account, I said. Said Desiree would have to drop out otherwise. Francesca slid a document across the desk. Your sister received a full scholarship that covered her entire tuition. The money you contributed went straight into your parents' personal account. The room spun slightly. How much? $28,000. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Darling, the wedding videographer needs another deposit. Don't worry, we'll handle it. I showed it to Francesca. They're still draining my accounts. Not for long. She pulled out a legal pad. We have enough evidence to freeze your assets and press charges. The question is, when do you want to move on this? I thought about Desiree's voice memo from yesterday, which I'd forwarded to Francesca. Poor Mara, always so responsible with her money. Good thing she got sick. Now we can put it to better use. The wedding, I said firmly. I want to wait until the wedding. That's 3 weeks away. They could take everything by then. Let them. I pulled up my calendar. I want it all documented. Every charge, every lie, every moment of them thinking they're untouchable. Francesca studied me carefully. You're going to let them have their perfect day just to destroy it? They've been destroying my days for years. I showed her an old photo on my phone, me at my college graduation dinner, sitting alone at an empty restaurant table. They all skipped it because Desiree had a headache. Jesus, Francesca muttered. I ordered champagne anyway, I continued. Took a selfie, posted about how blessed I was to have such a loving family. You know what my mother commented? What? Next time, think about others before scheduling important events. I put my phone away. So yes, I want them to have their perfect day. I want them dressed in their finest, surrounded by everyone they know, feeling completely invincible. Francesca nodded slowly. And then? And then I want them to learn what it feels like to have everything taken away in front of an audience. My phone buzzed again, this time with a voice message from my father. I played it on speaker. Princess, just transferred another $15,000 from your investment account. Don't worry about checking the paperwork. I've handled everything like always. Focus on getting better. Francesca raised an eyebrow. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. Why would he? I'm the compliant daughter, the family ATM, the one who never fights back. I smiled coldly. At least that's what they think. I'll contact Sheriff Ward, Francesca said, gathering the documents. He'll need time to review everything before the wedding. Make sure he understands the timing has to be perfect, I insisted, right after the father-daughter dance. Why then? Because that's when my father always gives his speech about family loyalty and sacrifice. I stood up, gathering my things. I want him to have those words fresh in his mouth when the handcuffs go on. As I turned to leave, Francesca called out, Mara, are you sure you want to go through with this? It will destroy your family. I paused at the door, thinking about all the birthdays they'd forgotten, all the achievements they'd dismissed, all the times they'd used my love against me. "They're not my family," I said quietly. "They're just people who saw my kindness as weakness, and now they're going to learn exactly how wrong they were." Walking to my car, I got one final text from Desiree. "Can't wait for you to see how amazing everything looks at my wedding, all thanks to your generous contribution." I took a screenshot, added it to my evidence folder, and typed back, "I'm sure it will be unforgettable." For once, I wasn't lying to them. 2 weeks before the wedding, I sat in my car outside the Crystal Palace Event Center, watching my mother and sister direct an army of workers setting up elaborate floral arches. Every rose, every crystal, every pristine white chair had been paid for with my stolen savings. My phone lit up with Carmen's call. "Are you sure you want to do the venue walkthrough today?" "I need to see everything," I answered, watching Desiree throw her hands up dramatically at a worker. "Need to know the layout for when Sheriff Ward arrives." Speaking of which, I just left his office. He's reviewed all the evidence and he's on board. Says he's never seen such a clear-cut case of financial fraud. I smiled grimly. "Did you give him the timeline?" "Yes. He'll arrive with Francesca right after the father-daughter dance starts, around 8:45 p.m. Through the venue's glass doors, I could see my mother ordering staff around, pointing at spots where my money would fund ice sculptures and champagne fountains. "Okay, I'm going in," I told Carmen. "Wish me luck." Remember, play weak, play grateful, play the role they expect. I stepped out of my car, deliberately moving slower than usual, keeping up the appearance of someone still recovering. Desiree spotted me first. "Oh my God, you actually came?" She rushed over, her designer heels clicking on the pavement. "Mom, look who finally decided to show up." My mother turned, her face arranging itself into practiced concern. "Darling, should you be out of bed? You look so pale." "I wanted to see everything," I said softly, making my voice slightly tremulous. "Since I contributed so much." "And we're so grateful," my mother gushed, leading me inside. "Look at these centerpieces, 4,800 each. Your father said you'd be happy to help make Desiree's dreams come true." I touched one of the crystal vases, mentally adding it to my evidence list. "Everything looks beautiful." "Wait till you see this." Desiree grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the grand ballroom. "We upgraded to the premium package, only an extra 30,000. The ballroom was a cathedral of excess. Crystal chandeliers, silk draperies, a dance floor that could hold 300 people. My entire life savings transformed into one day of spectacle. "The father-daughter dance will be here." Desiree pointed to the center of the floor. "Daddy's giving a special speech about family first." "Family first," I echoed, thinking about the sheriff's timing. Perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Just transferred another 20K for the upgraded lighting package. Hope you're feeling stronger, princess." "Oh, good. Daddy handled the lights," Desiree clapped. "I was worried we'd have to settle for the basic package." "Heaven forbid," I murmured, taking a photo of the ballroom while they weren't looking. "Mara, darling," my mother touched my arm. "You seem quiet. You're not upset about all this, are you?" I arranged my face into the compliant mask they expected. "Of course not. I just wish I could do more." "That's our Mara," Desiree laughed. "Always the reliable one." My phone buzzed again, this time with a voice memo notification. I'd accidentally left my recorder running in my pocket. I excused myself to the bathroom and played it back. I can't believe how easy this was. Mara's such a pushover. Remember when she actually believed that scholarship story in college? Desiree's voice dripped with contempt. "Well, she's always been the simple one," my mother replied. Thank goodness she had that surgery when she did. Her savings were just sitting there doing nothing. "At least she's good for something," Desiree giggled. "Too bad she couldn't afford her own wedding. Not that anyone would marry her anyway." I forwarded the recording to Francesca, then splashed cold water on my face. When I returned, my mother was arguing with the wedding planner about dove releases. "There you are," Desiree waved me over. "We're thinking of adding a fireworks display. Only another 15,000. You don't mind, right?" I smiled weakly. "Whatever makes your day special." "You're the best sister ever." She air-kissed my cheek. "Even if you can't be a bridesmaid, at least you're contributing something." My phone buzzed one final time, a confirmation from Sheriff Ward. "All set for wedding day. Officers will be in position by 8:30 p.m. "Everything okay?" my mother asked, noticing my expression. "Everything's perfect," I replied, watching them preen and plan, completely unaware of what was coming. This wedding is going to be exactly what everyone deserves. For once, I was telling them the absolute truth. The morning of the wedding, I slipped into a silver dress that cost exactly $179, the only outfit in the venue not paid for with my stolen money. I arrived 3 hours early, parking my car behind the venue where the catering vans wouldn't block it. "Everything's ready," Carmen texted. "Sheriff Ward just confirmed. You sure about this?" Before I could respond, I heard familiar voices approaching. I ducked behind a pillar as Charlie, Desiree's fiancé, walked past with his best man. "I just don't understand where all this money came from," Charlie was saying. "Des said her parents weren't that well off." "Don't question it, man. Just enjoy your dream wedding." I waited until the best man left before stepping out. "Hello, Charlie." He jumped. "Mara, I didn't know you were coming early." "We need to talk." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. "I thought you should see something before you marry into my family." His face paled as I scrolled through the transactions. "What is this?" "Every charge for your wedding. The venue, the flowers, the honeymoon." I showed him the forged documents. "All stolen from my accounts while I was having emergency surgery." That's not possible." But his voice shook. "Desiree said her parents were handling everything." "They did handle it by forging my signature and draining my life savings." I played him the voice memo of Desiree and my mother laughing about my surgery timing. Charlie sat down hard on a nearby chair. "The honeymoon villa in Bali. $90,000, taken from my investment account 2 days ago." Jesus Christ. He ran his hands through his hair. "I had no idea." Desiree says a lot of things." I showed him the college scholarship documents. "She's been lying about money for years. They all have." "What are you going to do?" I heard the click of heels approaching. "You'll see soon enough. Just remember, you might want to stay away from the dance floor after your first dance." I slipped away as Desiree rounded the corner in her wedding dress, the $12,000 masterpiece bought with my emergency fund. "Charlie!" she shrieked. "You can't see me before the ceremony. It's bad luck." I spent the next 2 hours ghosting through the venue, documenting everything. The ice sculpture that cost more than my monthly rent, the champagne tower that could have paid for a car, the string quartet that cost as much as my surgery deductible. At 6 p.m., guests began arriving. I stayed in the shadows, watching my mother play the gracious host, my father accept compliments about his generosity. The ceremony started at 7. I sat in the back, recording everything on my phone. Desiree floated down the aisle on our father's arm, beaming at the crowds, basking in her perfect moment. "Who gives this woman?" the officiant asked. "Her mother and I do," my father answered proudly. "With stolen money," I whispered to myself, checking the time. Less than 2 hours until Sheriff Ward arrived. At the reception, I avoided the family photos, ignored the toasts. My mother kept shooting me worried glances, probably concerned I'd make a scene. My father was too busy bragging about the premium whiskey selection to notice me at all. "You okay?" Carmen appeared at my elbow. "Sheriff Ward just texted. They're parked around back." "I'm fine." I watched Charlie and Desiree take their first dance. Just waiting. "Mara!" My mother's voice cut through the music. Stop hiding in the corner. At least try to look happy for your sister. I smiled blandly. Just tired, Mom. Surgery, recovery, remember? Well, perk up. Your father's special speech is coming up soon. Right on cue, the DJ announced, and now, the father-daughter dance. My father took Desiree's hand, leading her to the center of the dance floor. The opening notes of Butterfly Kisses filled the air as they began to sway. My phone buzzed. A text from Sheriff Ward. In position, ready when you are. I looked around the ballroom one last time. At my mother dabbing her eyes with a $1,000 handkerchief. At Desiree soaking up the attention she'd bought with my life savings. At my father preparing to give his speech about family loyalty and sacrifice. Now, Carmen whispered. I watched my father raise his champagne glass, saw him tap it with his fork for attention. Watched him beam at the crowd, completely unaware that his perfect moment was about to shatter. Now, I said, pressing send on the text I'd prepared hours ago. Come in. The ballroom doors opened. Sheriff Ward stepped in, flanked by Francesca and 2 uniformed officers. It was time for my family to learn what real sacrifice looked like. The music screeched to a halt as Sheriff Ward's voice cut through the ballroom. Reginald and Rosalind, step away from the dance floor. My father's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. What is the meaning of this? Francesca stepped forward, holding up her badge. Financial Crimes Investigation Unit. We have evidence of extensive fraud and identity theft. The crowd began murmuring. Phones came out recording. My mother's perfectly composed face cracked. There must be some mistake, she stammered. This is our daughter's wedding. Yes, I said, standing up. A wedding paid for with my stolen money. Desiree's face went from confusion to rage in an instant. You called the police? On my wedding day? Technically, I called them on the day you decided to spend my life savings while I was unconscious. I nodded to Francesca, who began reading from her tablet. We have documented evidence of forged signatures, falsified power of attorney documents, and unauthorized transfers totaling over $250,000. The whispers grew louder. Charlie stepped away from Desiree, his face ashen. It's all a misunderstanding. My father tried to laugh it off. Family matters, nothing more. Mara gave us permission. While I was under anesthesia? I pulled out my phone. Should we play the recording of Mom joking about how convenient my emergency surgery was for accessing my accounts? You recorded us? My mother gasped. I learned from the best, Mom. Remember how you used to record my phone calls in high school to make sure I wasn't plotting against the family? Sheriff Ward moved toward my father. Sir, please place your hands behind your back. This is ridiculous, Desiree screamed. Daddy, tell them. Tell them how Mara's always been jealous of me. Jealous? I laughed. Of what? The scholarship money you stole from me in college? The job interviews I missed driving you to fake appointments? Or maybe the emergency fund you drained while I was having life-saving surgery? The wedding planner tried to hustle guests out of the ballroom, but nobody moved. They were all too busy filming. You ungrateful little... My mother lunged forward, but an officer blocked her path. Ma'am, please step back. You're also named in the fraud charges. Charlie finally found his voice. The honeymoon villa, the catering, everything was paid for with stolen money? Check your wedding registry, Charlie, I said quietly. Every gift, every deposit, every premium upgrade, all funded by my accounts. They forged my signature while I was being prepped for surgery. You're lying, Desiree shrieked. Mom, tell her she's lying. But our mother was too busy watching Sheriff Ward handcuff our father. Reginald, you are under arrest for financial fraud, identity theft, and forgery. You have the right to remain silent. This isn't happening, Desiree whimpered. This is my perfect day. Perfect? I walked to the center of the dance floor. Let's talk about perfect. Let's talk about waking up from surgery to find out your entire family had robbed you blind. Let's talk about them laughing about how I might die before the wedding. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped a champagne glass. You're exaggerating, my mother tried, but I was already playing the recording through the DJ speakers. Try not to die before my wedding. I don't want to deal with a funeral messing up my schedule. Desiree's own voice echoed through the ballroom. Charlie took another step back. I think, he said slowly, the wedding's off. No! Desiree lunged at me, her white dress billowing. You ruined everything. You always ruin everything. Sheriff Ward caught her before she could reach me. Miss, don't add assault charges to this situation. As they led my father away, my mother collapsed into theatrical sobs. How could you do this to your family? Family? I looked around at the destroyed reception, the shocked guests, the evidence of my life savings transformed into this grotesque spectacle. You stopped being my family the moment you saw me as nothing but an ATM with a pulse. What happens now? Charlie asked quietly. Now? I watched as Francesca began documenting the venue's contents as evidence. Now they learn that karma doesn't care about perfect timing, and that sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves while you simply keep receipts. Desiree sank to the dance floor, mascara running down her face. My wedding, my perfect wedding. Don't worry, sis, I said, heading for the door. I'm sure it'll be a day everyone remembers forever, just like you wanted. Behind me, I could hear my mother wailing, guests murmuring, phones clicking. But for the first time in years, all I felt was peace. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones you didn't know you were teaching. The morning after the wedding, my phone exploded with notifications. The budget photographer, paid with my money of course, had posted the entire meltdown online. The videos were going viral. Have you seen this? Carmen texted, sending a link to a news article. Wedding ends in arrests. Family accused of draining daughter's surgery fund. I was reading the comments when my mother's number flashed on my screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. How dare you? She hissed. Do you know what you've done? Your father spent the night in jail. Actually, he spent the night in jail because he committed felony fraud. I kept my voice steady. How's Desiree handling her social media fame? She's devastated. The video has ruined her life. Funny how you're more concerned about a viral video than the fact that you stole my entire life savings. We're your family, she shrieked. Everything we did was for family. No, I said quietly. Everything you did was for Desiree. I was just the bank account you could drain whenever you needed a quick fix. That's not true. We love... Don't. I cut her off. Don't you dare say you love me. Love doesn't forge signatures. Love doesn't steal from someone during emergency surgery. Love doesn't joke about death interfering with wedding plans. The doorbell rang. It was Charlie, looking exhausted. Mom, I have to go. Enjoy the viral fame you always wanted. I hung up and opened the door. Shouldn't you be on a honeymoon flight to Bali? Canceled it. He held up a manila envelope. I found these in Desiree's wedding planning folder. Thought you might need them for your case. Inside were more forged documents, bank statements, even handwritten notes detailing how they'd access my accounts. They planned this for months, Charlie said. Before your appendix even burst. They were just waiting for an opportunity. My phone buzzed with another news alert. Wedding video goes viral. Brother of bride speaks out. Your brother talked to the press? Charlie nodded grimly. Said they did the same thing to him years ago. Cleaned out his college fund for Desiree's Sweet 16. Of course they did. I sighed. Did you know about any of it? No. He sat heavily on my couch. I knew her parents paid for everything, but Desiree said they were wealthy, called it their wedding gift to us. Some gift. I ended things permanently this morning. He pulled out his phone, showed me Desiree's string of hysterical messages. She still doesn't think she did anything wrong. Keeps saying family takes care of family. Yeah, they're big on that line. I gathered the documents he'd brought. These will help Francesca's case. Thank you. Don't thank me. I should have seen the signs. He stood to leave. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserved better than this. After he left, I called Francesca. Perfect timing, she said. Your father's requesting a deal. Says he'll provide evidence against your mother and sister if we reduce charges. I laughed bitterly. Still throwing his family under the bus to save himself. Some things never change. The DA's not interested. We have too much evidence against all of them. She paused. There's something else. Your brother-in-law that was supposed to be? He came forward with more documents. Charlie was just here. Brought me copies too. No, not Charlie. Your sister's first fiancé from 3 years ago. Says they did the same thing to him. Drained his savings for wedding deposits, then called it off when the money ran out. My hands started shaking. How many others? We're still finding victims. Your parents. They've been running this scheme for years. Different variations, different targets, but always the same pattern. My phone buzzed again. Desiree calling. I declined it. What happens now? I asked Francesca. Now we build an even stronger case. The viral video actually helped. More victims are coming forward. She sighed. Your father's looking at serious time. Your mother, too. Desiree might get a lighter sentence if she cooperates. I thought about all the years of manipulation, the careful grooming to keep me compliant, the way they'd turned my love into a weapon against me. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. They'll never understand what they did wrong. In their minds, I'm still the villain who ruined their perfect day. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people face the consequences of their own actions, Francesca replied. My phone lit up with a text from Carmen. Ready to write your victim impact statement? I looked at the growing pile of evidence, at the viral video still spreading online, at the years of financial and emotional abuse finally exposed to the world. Yes, I typed back. It's time to tell my story. All of it. Because sometimes the truth is the sharpest weapon of all. The courthouse was packed for the sentencing hearing. My father sat stiffly in his designer suit. My mother dabbed theatrical tears with a silk handkerchief, and Desiree glared at me from behind her lawyer. Before we proceed, the judge announced, the victim has prepared a statement. I stood, unfolding the paper I'd rewritten dozens of times. But when I looked at my family, really looked at them, I set it aside. They didn't deserve prepared words. I've spent my entire life being told that family means sacrifice, I began. That love means giving until you're empty. That asking for anything in return makes you selfish. My mother started to speak, but her lawyer silenced her. I believed it for so long. Every time you drained my accounts, every time you dismissed my achievements, every time you used my love as a weapon, I told myself that's just what family does. I turned to face them directly. But you know what? Real family doesn't forge signatures while their daughter is in emergency surgery. Real family doesn't joke about death-ruining wedding plans. Real family doesn't steal someone's entire life savings for a party. Desiree burst out. It wasn't just a party. It was my special day. Order, the judge warned. You're right, Desiree. It wasn't just a party. It was the day you all finally showed me exactly who you are. I gestured to the evidence files. And thanks to your perfect wedding, 12 other victims came forward. 12 other lives you destroyed while claiming it was all for family. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. My mother's tears had suddenly dried up. The prosecutor is asking for maximum sentences, I continued. But honestly, prison isn't the worst punishment you'll face. Your punishment is having to live as yourselves, people so empty inside that you mistake possession for love and theft for family loyalty. The judge nodded for me to continue. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even hurt. I'm just done. Done pretending your abuse was love. Done carrying the weight of your expectations. Done being the ATM you called a daughter. I turned to the judge. They can keep the money, every penny they stole, because walking away from them, That's worth more than any amount they could take." The judge cleared his throat. "Given the evidence presented and the scope of the fraud, this court sentences Reginald to 8 years in federal prison. Rosalind will serve 5 years. Desiree, given your cooperation, you'll serve 18 months plus 5 years probation." My mother collapsed in sobs. Desiree started screaming. My father just sat there, stone-faced. "Additionally," the judge continued, "you'll be required to pay full restitution to all victims, starting with the primary victim, your daughter Mara." Outside the courthouse, Carmen waited with coffee and a hug. "You did it." "No," I corrected her. "They did it to themselves. I just stopped covering for them." My phone buzzed, a text from Charlie. "Just testified in another fraud case. Your parents' arrest helped uncover a whole network of wedding scammers. You started something bigger than you know." I smiled, showing Carmen the message. "Ready to go?" "Almost." She pointed to the courthouse steps, where reporters were gathering. "Don't you want to give a statement?" "No need." I watched as they led my family out in handcuffs. The truth speaks for itself. We walked to my car, leaving behind the chaos of cameras and questions. My phone kept buzzing with messages from relatives claiming they never knew and always suspected something was wrong. I deleted them all. "Where to?" Carmen asked as we pulled away. "The beach," I decided. "I need some air." We drove in comfortable silence until we reached the shore. The waves crashed steadily, erasing footprints in the sand. "You know what's funny?" I said, kicking off my shoes. "They spent my entire life teaching me to be quiet, to comply, to sacrifice. They never realized they were actually teaching me strength." "How so?" "Because surviving them, learning to stand up, that took more strength than they'll ever have." I walked toward the water. "They thought they were breaking me down, but they were really showing me exactly who I didn't want to be." Carmen smiled. "So what now?" I pulled out my phone, still buzzing with notifications, and turned it off. "Now, I start fresh, build something real, create the family I choose instead of the one I was born into." The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and pink. Somewhere behind us, my biological family was facing the consequences of their actions. But here, with the sand between my toes and my chosen family beside me, I was finally completely free. Sometimes the happiest endings don't need a perfect family. They just need the perfect moment to walk away.